So it's been about 2.5 weeks since I ran the Illinois Marathon, and this video is going to be all about that experience, my opinions of the race, and of course whether or not I was able to meet either that A goal, B goal, or C goal. So let's get into it. So there was actually some uncertainty as to whether or not the race would actually happen. That Friday evening, I'm with my family and we're all getting ready to go eat pizza, as I like to eat pizza the day before a long run or the day before a race. Shout out to Monocle's Pizza. I get an email from the race director saying that the 5K race for that evening was canceled due to student protests. They had to redirect all of the police to the campus where the protests were occurring. They said that there would be an update around 9 o'clock regarding whether or not the races the next day would happen. So I'm like, oh, okay. I just drove 10 hours and have planned my training for the past, 3 or 4 months. And now the night before, it's like, will this race even happen? Around 9:20, the email finally came through and the update was there is no update. We're still kind of at the same standstill. I got very little sleep that night. I wish I had checked my phone because I guess it was around 11 something that evening that they sent out an email saying good news, the governor has directed the state police to come and help out with the race. The races are on. Woke up at I think 4 o'clock that morning, read the email, was super stoked, but then it was like the nerves set in of, oh, I actually do have to do this thing. Got to the race at 6 something. My cousin drove and my dad actually met us there and was there to support me, which was super cool. And it had been raining the night before, so the ground was still pretty wet. But the biggest issue regarding the race and the weather was the wind and the heat. So kind of this double whammy. I had already seen the forecast and it was gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So I was like, oh great. Like I'd run in wind before, but nothing like this. The race started out great. And I of course started out way too fast. Mile 1, 10:16. Too fast. Gotta slow it down. I started out feeling great, so it was like, let's go. I tapered, I've done all the training, I'm ready, and I did not go according to my pace plan. So my pace plan, I had said I was going to start out between 10:45 and 10:55 per mile. Well, here I am running 10:16 in mile 1. Mile 2, 10:25. Mile 3, 10:23. Mile 4, 10:28. So I was still feeling pretty good at this point. That's about when the wind was really starting to pick up, but also the sun came out and that sun was just blaring down on us, like just blazing. So then I progressively started slowing down a little bit and I was actually on my pace that I should have been the whole time. Mile 11, 10:39, mile 12, 10:58. So then it was like the halfway point, 13.1. That's when my body was like, hey, this is starting to not feel good and this wind is starting to really, stop us from running and this heat is really starting to hit us. So I started out with the aid stations, taking a cup of water at every other aid station, and they had additional aid stations due to the heat. But I would take water and then I would take noon. Well, by the halfway point, I'm like taking it, just chugging this stuff. Every aid station I can get to, I can't get enough hydration in my body. I was fortunate that I didn't cramp up, and I think a lot of that has to do with making sure to take a gel every half hour and also taking a salt stick every 45 minutes. So it was around just after the halfway point. So the way this race goes is at the halfway point, the half marathon runners switch off to the left and the rest of us keep running. 709 people ran the full marathon and it was very lonely after that halfway point. And it was just before the halfway point that I started noticing some discomfort in my left foot. And I had done 40 miles in the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4s before this, but it got to the point where I had to sit down, take my shoe off, and see, do I have a blister forming on the ball of my foot? And luckily I did not. It was just weird. So, you know, that took some time off the clock. It was about then that I saw my dad and my cousin there on the route, and that kind of gave me a little pick-me-up. And I did very little filming after that point. There was like a, I don't know, a band playing a Billy Joel song as you run under the bridge, and I think that was the last time I filmed anything. So yeah, it got pretty bad around that point. Mile 13, like I said, was 12:04. Mile 14, 11:02, not too bad. Mile 15, that's when I started kind of feeling it and really just felt like I was dragging. I felt like I had no energy, but I persisted. It was around mile 19 or 20 where it was just this like straightaway where you're just running directly into the wind. And that wind, no joke, like you could not run. You had to stop and walk. Like everyone had to stop and walk. It was like running into a brick wall. I've never run in wind like that before. And there was a guy who I've kind of casually met, and he's in the Decatur Running Club up in Illinois, and saw him out there, and I was like, oh cool, Kevin. And he kept going, and then he would walk, and then I would pass him, and then I would have to walk, and then he would pass me. You know, he kept me going, and I ended up passing him and finished a little bit before him, but he found me afterwards in the stadium and was like, girl, you kept me going. And I was like, dude, you kept me going. So it's always cool when you see people who kind of motivate you, and then you make sure to acknowledge them afterwards that, you know, you were the one who kind of kept me going in this race, because you need that. You need that motivation to pull you through. I think it was mile 22. That was, yeah, definitely mile 22 is my slowest at 14 minutes. And that's when I had to do a ton of walking with that wind. Got to the point where I was like, okay, I've got to pick up the pace, because I knew at that point that my Eagle just was not going to happen that day. And by mile 23, I knew that Beagle was not going to happen that day. And so I wanted to at least finish this race and beat my last time, which was 5:01:30. I wanted a sub 5 so bad. I was just giving every ounce of everything that I had left in me to get in that stadium and cross that finish line. And I finished in 4:59:35. So about a 2-minute PR and my first sub 5. Super proud of that. Of course I wanted to do better. Of course I wanted to hit that 4:45, but it's just the elements, the lack of sleep, the wind, the heat, everything was against me in that race. But I still got a PR, I still got a sub 5, I still finished, and I still enjoyed it. I love the marathon. Got this sweet medal. It's actually pretty cool. It opens up. I've actually already run in this shirt. It's a pretty good moisture wicking shirt. And I also got a fleece blanket that is currently covered in dog hair, so I'll just show a picture of that. Afterwards, you know, you have to make your way up the stairs in the stadium to leave, which was a bit painful, but I did it. Didn't hang around too long after, just because it was so hot and I was tired and ready to get back, but it was a great race. It's one that I'll do again, but I don't know when. I may do it next year, but I also want to branch out. I want to try new things. I want to try new races. So leave a comment down below what marathon you're doing next. So I've got the 10K 4th of July, the Peachtree Road Race. Leave a comment down below if you're running that. It'd be cool to meet up with some viewers. And I think I'm going to do the Area 13.1 half marathon in August. That's in Roswell, Georgia, but I'm not sure yet, so kind of still on the fence on that one, because I did do that one last year. I was wanting to try some new races, so we'll see. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for, you know, following me on Instagram. I do post a lot more over there and a lot more daily content, but I want to get back into posting YouTube videos consistently. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will get better yet.